What happens when life ends?
What I saw is my body floating below me. What I saw going into this light, painless, comfortable.
I just wanted to share that I saw Jesus face to face.
Creepy messages, incredible transformations, and auspicious second chances. Here is what happens when people once declared deceased suddenly return. Tina Hines. She suffered a massive heart attack in February 2018.
Listen, is she breathing? No, she's not. Get her on the ground, flat on her back so we can start CPR on her, okay?
And was subsequently declared deceased for a total of 27 minutes. During this time, she experienced a profound otherworldly experience that left an indelible mark on her life. According to her, she saw a vision of a figure she identified as Jesus Christ, who appeared to her with glowing, radiant hands. What makes Hines' story even more extraordinary is that when she was revived, her first words were, "It's real." She repeatedly scrawled these words on a piece of paper, due in part to having a tracheostomy tube at the time, which made speaking difficult. Tina's experience has had an intense effect on her and those who have heard her story.
I just wanted to share that I saw Jesus face to face.
As she describes it as a transformational and deeply spiritual moment.
But one of the things that just recently came up in some of our doctor's appointments is that I just told the doctor straight out, God did a total miracle. I don't even need to know the past. I don't want to know what happened. I don't need to do any of that because I'm not questioning why it took place.
Her account has resonated with many and has been widely shared as a testament to the possibility of life beyond the physical realm. Dorothy Edy. Born in 1904 in London, England, her life took a remarkable turn when, at the age of 3, she tumbled down the stairs and stopped breathing. However, in a moment that defies belief, she mysteriously revived, and this incident seemed to trigger a series of inexplicable events.
Old story. When I was 3 years old, I fell downstairs. My parents fetched the doctor, who examined me very carefully and said I was dead. And then the doctor said he'd return with a nurse to wash the body. When he came back with the nurse and went into my room, the dead body was sitting on the bed playing, nothing the matter.
Dead body was you?
Yes.
She developed an insatiable fascination with ancient Egypt. She somehow had extraordinary and detailed knowledge of Egyptian history, hieroglyphics, and customs. She claimed to be the reincarnation of an ancient Egyptian priestess, Seti. Her encounters with renowned Egyptologists and archaeologists led to even more astonishment. Dorothy's descriptions of ancient Egyptian sites, rituals, and customs were often eerily accurate, even though she had no formal training in Egyptology. She worked at the Temple of Seti I in Abydos and made significant contributions to Egyptology.
This temple is really 7 temples in one.
Yes. Why do you think they included 7 chapels?
Because this was a place of pilgrimage.
It is fascinating and downright mysterious what happened to her.
What are your feelings about it?
Indescribable.
Navy vet. Michael Boatright is an American man who gained notoriety due to a highly unusual and mysterious case. In 2018, he was found unconscious in his motel room. When he woke up in the hospital, he claimed to have no memory of his identity or even how to speak English.
That's the name I knew that I had, U-1-A.
Which was supposed to be his native language. What makes his case even more enigmatic is that he was found with a host of personal identification documents and even a military ID, all identifying him as a U.S. citizen. Boatright was diagnosed with amnesia. Even more perplexing, he insisted that his name was John and that he was from Sweden.
Don't have any family left except for probably 2 sisters in Sweden.
He communicated in Swedish and claimed that he had no knowledge of English. His sudden transformation into someone with apparent amnesia who only spoke Swedish baffled medical professionals. It is one of the most baffling cases ever that has unfortunately never been solved.
Walk in my shoes for one day, then you'll experience the nightmare of a lifetime.
Betty J Edy. She's an American author who gained recognition for her NDE and her remarkable account of what she claims to have encountered during that profound event.
I went in for a routine hysterectomy, and it was during or after the hysterectomy that I actually experienced my death.
Her story began in 1973 when she underwent a life-changing surgery, which inevitably led to her experience. During her NDE, Edy reported crossing over to the afterlife, where she met a being of light and experienced a profound sense of love, understanding, and enlightenment. She was given insights into the purpose of life, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the importance of love and service.
I could see the figure moving with arms spread out like this, and he was Jesus Christ.
Upon returning to her physical body, Edy felt compelled to share her experiences and insights with the world. In 1992, she published her book, Embraced by the Light, which became a bestseller and touched the lives of many readers. Her story has been both celebrated for its spiritual insights and scrutinized for its authenticity. Miracle Man. In December 2018, Scott Marr became known as the Miracle Man after experiencing a baffling medical journey that defied all expectations. It all began when he suffered a cardiac arrest and was rushed to the Nebraska Medical Center in critical condition.
Code blue, room 305.
His situation rapidly worsened, and he fell into a deep coma, showing no signs of brain activity. Doctors made the heart-wrenching decision to declare him neurologically unresponsive and initiated preparations for organ donation.
Completely unresponsive, and he was intubated.
I'll never hear him say, "Hey son," to me again, because he always said that.
It appeared that Scott Marr's life was hanging by a thread, and his family braced for the worst. But then, in an extraordinary turn of events, Marr began to exhibit a glimmer of consciousness and brain activity after 6 weeks in a coma. He started responding to verbal cues, leaving medical professionals astounded.
We were worried that, in his case, this was not a reversible process and that it was going to proceed to brain death.
Here is another baffling fact. His family gave consent to have his breathing tube removed, and it was after that that he miraculously recovered.
From a medical standpoint, let's look at it that way. I mean, it was pretty freaking a miracle.
Scott Drummond. An experience so profound, it made him wish he hadn't come back.
It was the most incredible experience that anyone could experience. I could feel that love coming from the grass. And to the left, the far left, were trees. These were the most unusual looking trees that I have ever seen. The bark on those trees was the most beautiful brown color that I have ever seen.
As he laid on the operating table, Scott felt a mysterious presence moving through him, a sensation that traveled up his arm and into his heart. Suddenly, Scott found himself outside his own body, observing the surgery from above.
And when the nurse went to release the valve, she forgot to tighten the other valve first. The next thing I knew, I was sitting above my body, and the nurse went running out of the room and said that she had killed me.
While in this out-of-body state, he noticed a figure sitting next to him, communicating through thoughts rather than words. He was overwhelmed with the amount of peace. Even amidst the medical turmoil, Scott felt an overwhelming calm. Despite the dire situation, Scott felt that the presence beside him was a guardian angel. Then he noticed a hand coming out of a cloud. Before he could hold it, a voice said, "It is not your time. You have more things yet to do." The voice faded away, and the next moment, he was back in his body, next to his wife. Thanksgiving gift. A 21-year-old man from San Francisco awakened from a coma just in time to celebrate Thanksgiving after enduring a life-threatening wound to the head. The man's story is nothing short of miraculous. After leaving a Halloween party with his girlfriend, he got injured while trying to defend her. After leaving the Halloween party, he was quickly brought to the hospital, and the doctors were initially unsure if he would survive.
Your son Benjamin got shot and he's in the hospital.
They said he hardly had a 25% chance of survival. However, through medical intervention, dedicated care, and his own resilience, he gradually regained consciousness. His recovery progressed significantly, defying the odds, and he reached a point where he could rejoin his family for the Thanksgiving holiday. The timing of his awakening made it an exceptionally heartwarming and thankful celebration for the man and his loved ones. Texas man. Gabriel Menchaca's life took an unexpected and challenging turn when he contracted COVID-19, ultimately leading to a remarkable story of survival and resilience. Just 2 months after overcoming cancer, Menchaca found himself battling the virus as one of the early cases in Brazos County, Texas. The virus took a severe toll on his body, causing both of his lungs to collapse, and he was placed in a coma for nearly a month. Meanwhile, the virus also affected his family members, with his mother, brother, and sister all falling ill.
You know, life is a very beautiful, precious thing. I'm a cancer survivor. I just got through battling cancer 2 months prior to that.
Emerging from this harrowing experience, Menchaca faces the uncertainty of how COVID-19 will impact his long-term health. While his body may not be as strong as it once was, his spirit remains unbroken. He has learned to appreciate the preciousness of life and the strength of the human will. Polish man. In 1988, Jan Grzebski, a Polish railway worker, suffered a traumatic accident when he was struck by a train. This accident left him in a deep coma, with doctors giving him little hope of ever waking up. His family was told to prepare for the worst as the years went by. Remarkably, after 19 years of being in this comatose state, Jan Grzebski regained consciousness in 2007. His awakening was a miraculous event that shocked the medical community and the world at large. During his 19-year coma, he remained unaware of the significant changes in the world, including the fall of communism in Poland, the rapid advances in technology, and the transformation of his own family. What was even more surprising was that even after 2 decades of being in a coma, he could already speak and walk a little. Although he had to adapt to the world around him, he still rejoiced. Before we move any further, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you can keep watching our amazing content. Ghost Boy. Martin Pistorius' story is a remarkable tale of resilience and triumph over extreme adversity. In 1988, at the age of 12, Martin fell into a mysterious illness that left him in a vegetative state. Doctors were unable to diagnose his condition, and his cognitive and motor functions deteriorated rapidly. For more than a decade, Martin was trapped inside his own body, unable to move, communicate, or express himself. His life changed dramatically when at the age of 25, he began to regain his consciousness. Martin's mind had been active all those years, but he was unable to convey this to the outside world. He was finally able to communicate using a computer, and he revealed his awareness and intelligence to his family and caregivers. He wrote a memoir, Ghost Boy, which detailed his experiences, and he became an advocate for individuals with locked-in syndrome and those with disabilities. Terry Wallace. Terry Wayne Wallace is known for a truly extraordinary event in the world of medicine. In 1984, at the age of 19, he was involved in a car accident that left him in a coma for 19 years. Terry's case is remarkable, not only because of the duration of his coma, but also because of what happened afterward. Terry's family took care of him for almost 2 decades, believing he would never recover.
We're just all so happy.
But in 2003, to their astonishment, Terry suddenly emerged from his comatose state. He began speaking and interacting with those around him, despite missing nearly 2 decades of life's developments. The phenomenon was dubbed the Sleeping Beauty case. It remains a subject of fascination and study in the medical community. While Terry's recovery was remarkable, it also posed questions about the nature of comas, the potential for long-term recovery, and the human brain's resilience. 23-year coma. In an astonishing medical case, a Belgian man was initially diagnosed as being in a deep coma for 23 years. However, a breakthrough discovery shocked the medical world. It was found that he had been fully conscious during this time, locked inside his paralyzed body. The man, Ram Hubin, had been misdiagnosed.
Ram Hubin was thought to be in a coma for 23 years. Doctors said that he was in a vegetative state. However, recent brain scans have indicated that he wasn't in a coma at all.
He had suffered a severe stroke in 1983, which led to a condition known as locked-in syndrome. Locked-in syndrome is a state where a person is awake and aware, but unable to move or communicate due to almost complete paralysis. For over 2 decades, Ram was trapped in his own body, unable to signal to the outside world that he was still conscious. His revelation came through a specialized scanning technique, allowing doctors to identify his brain activity and communicate with him using a letterboard. Remarkable, right? 10-year coma. This man woke up from a 10-year coma, but was he really ever in one?
I'll kill you, man. Yeah.
Let's find out why he thinks he was in a coma. In a rather unconventional yet impactful lesson on the consequences of drunk driving,
in God we must.
Sir, please get out of the vehicle. Have you been drinking? Yes. Got a runner! Stop running!
a man decided to give his friend a wake-up call he would never forget. The prank, aptly named the epic Don't Drink and Drive prank, involved some elaborate deception.
I'm Dr. James. Some time ago you decided you was drinking. You was out drinking and you decided to drive and there was an accident.
The scene is set in a hospital room where Ray, the man who had passed out from drinking, finds himself on a hospital bed. A doctor walks into the room, who happens to be his friend, and with a serious tone, informs Ray that he has been in a coma for a staggering 10 years.
Accident took place back in 2013. You've been in a coma for the past 10 years.
Ray is both silent and shocked as he grapples with the shocking news. He was later told it was a prank, but what do you think of this? Sergeant Israel Del Toro. Commonly known as DT, it's a remarkable individual with an inspiring story of resilience and determination. He's a United States Air Force veteran and a former tactical air control party operator. In December 2005, while serving in Afghanistan, Del Toro's vehicle was hit by an IED. It left him with burns over 80% of his body, and he was not expected to survive. However, DT defied the odds and survived the incident, though he had to endure numerous surgeries and a long recovery. His unwavering determination to live a full life was evident in his decision to re-enlist in the Air Force in 2010.
Congratulations.
Becoming the first 100% combat-disabled airman to do so. He later transitioned to the Air Force Wounded Warrior program, where he excelled in adaptive sports and became a Paralympic athlete. He talked about his experience in his memoir, A Patriot's Promise. Bob Woodruff. Bob Woodruff, a prominent American journalist, is known for his compelling reporting and the challenges he faced. In 2006, while covering the war in Iraq, Woodruff suffered a traumatic brain injury when an IED struck his vehicle. The incident left him in a coma for 36 days and his recovery was nothing short of extraordinary.
Since I was hit when we were along that road in Iraq, when I was knocked out, what I saw is my body floating below me when I was out for about a minute. But I woke up about 36 days later, and I told my brothers and my wife exactly what I saw, going into this light, painless, comfortable.
What followed was a remarkable journey of recovery, Woodruff's determination, and the support of his loved ones. After emerging from his coma, Bob Woodruff made a triumphant return to journalism. His story not only captivated audiences worldwide, but also inspired many. Bob and his wife, Lee, established the Bob Woodruff Foundation. This foundation is dedicated to helping veterans and service members who have suffered traumatic brain injuries, a cause that holds a special place in his heart due to his own experience. Mary Jo Rapini. During Mary Jo Rapini's NDE, she vividly described her journey through a tunnel and into a magnificent, warm, and loving space. She mentioned that the tunnel initially appeared small, similar to descriptions she had heard from cancer patients.
And they would tell me they saw things. It would say, "Can you see them?" And I'd say, "No, I can't see them." When I would leave the room, I would tell the resident, "I think you better get a morphine level on them because I think they're hallucinating."
However, as she moved through it, the tunnel expanded, enveloping her in its warmth. She conveyed a sense of total peace and acceptance in the room that awaited her, describing it as a brilliant, soft, and loving environment. She mentioned it having a hint of pink. Throughout this experience, there was a feeling of being held or guided. She continued by saying this voice.
But something is holding me because I can feel it physically around me. It says, "Mary Jo, you cannot stay."
That she referred to as God told her that she still hasn't done enough and that she needs to do more. She was baffled by this, considering how she looks after cancer patients. But God told her to go back and love everyone with more compassion.
And then it says, "Have you ever loved any person the way you've been loved in this short time here?" And I said, "No."
Jeff Olsen. His experience is both heartbreaking and inspiring. Olsen's NDE occurred in the aftermath of a tragic car accident in 1997.
I was pinned, I was struggling to breathe, there was the rancid smell of gasoline and all the glass, the broken glass.
The accident left him with severe injuries, including third-degree burns over 40% of his body. Jeff's injuries were so severe that he was clinically pronounced deceased for a brief period, which set the stage for his profound NDE.
You had a near-death experience, right?
Yes, I did.
And how many years ago was that?
It's been 16 years ago now.
Has it been 16
years?
Oh my goodness.
During this extraordinary episode, Jeff reported leaving his physical body and encountering a realm of profound love, light, and unity. He met deceased loved ones and felt an overwhelming sense of compassion and acceptance. His experience was marked by a magnificent, brilliant light, unlike anything he had ever witnessed before. This journey into the afterlife transformed Jeff's perspective on life and his existence. It ignited his motivation to share his experience, leading to his role as a motivational speaker and author. Dr. George Richie. At the age of 20, Richie, a soldier in the U.S. Army, fell gravely ill and was pronounced deceased by the medical staff at the military base hospital. His lifeless body was placed in a morgue, where he had an extraordinary out-of-body experience. During his experience, Richie described leaving his body and observing the hospital staff efforts to revive him. He then found himself in a different realm, where he encountered various beings of light. These luminous entities had boundless love and understanding. Richie also met a powerful, radiant figure whom he identified as Jesus Christ. In the presence of Christ, Richie underwent a life review, during which he witnessed every moment of his life, experiencing the emotions and perspectives of everyone he had ever encountered. After this, Richie returned to life and went on to become a doctor and devoted his life to caring for patients. Dr. Mary Helen Hensley. After a tragic car accident, Mary had an experience unlike any other on this list. She vividly described her journey into the afterlife. She was in a surreal realm, a place of immense love, light, and profound insights. As she entered this ethereal domain, she felt an overwhelming sense of peace, clarity, and interconnectedness. During her experience, she encountered a light, a guide who shared knowledge with her. Dr. Hensley realized that time and space, as we understand them on Earth, were not applicable in this realm. Past, present, and future coexist simultaneously. She was also shown a panoramic view of her life, experiencing every moment and its ripple effects on others. This allowed her to comprehend the profound significance of love and compassion in human existence.
So it was December 14th. I jumped in my trusty little Toyota Corolla and I came down a road and I got to a major highway, which is called Highway 17. So I get to the light, my light was red and it stayed red for a while, and then my light turned green and I had to cross all the way over the traffic coming this way to make the left to go towards town. Well, I made it across the first couple of lanes, and then all of a sudden I looked and I can see this car barreling towards me. And this is where everything changed. Time just slowed down almost to a complete stop.
So what was really fascinating was in this moment, when I looked and I realized that I was getting ready to get hit by this car, I just had this overwhelming knowing that I was getting ready to die. And so the cars were coming at a snail's pace. All of a sudden, it was like I was in control. I kind of weighed my options and I was like, well, I could stay inside the body, experience that impact, and then go, or I could leave the body and then the impact takes place and I don't have to feel anything. I made a decision in that moment that I was going to exit. And so once the decision was made, it was like, whoop, everything sped up. And now I'm up and out of the body and I'm looking down and I get to witness my own death.
Upon returning to her body, Dr. Hensley brought back a deep understanding of the power of love and the eternal nature of the soul. Deceased man rises. Deep in the heart of India's northern state of Uttar Pradesh, Azamgarh, a mystery unfolded. An old man was pronounced deceased, and arrangements were being made for his funeral rites. But much to everyone's surprise, the old man, declared dead, rose from his eternal slumber. Clearly famished, he asked for some food and drinks. As you can see for yourself, he is eating as he lays on the wood, stacked for his cremation. The man literally came back to life on the pyre. The news got international media coverage, but nobody has been able to explain this unusual spectacle. Girl from Philippines. In an unknown part of the Philippines, mourners were left pale after witnessing the unexplainable. A 3-year-old girl woke up at her own funeral, shocking everyone. The girl was seen moving in a casket. This understandably spooked everyone present at the young girl's funeral. But as for her parents, they wasted no time in carefully grabbing a hold of her and leaving immediately. It was later revealed that she was mistakenly pronounced deceased. The scene spooked all the onlookers, as you can witness by their baffled expressions. Alive in Coffin. An eerie incident unraveled in Ecuador when a woman, during her burial rituals, opened her eyes. 76-year-old Bella Montoya was discovered alive inside her coffin when people heard noises emanating from it. She was previously declared deceased at a hospital, sending shockwaves through her grieving family as she smacked on her very own coffin during this ceremonious burial. She was taken to the hospital by her son after suffering a stroke. Hours later, a doctor on duty declared her deceased. An investigation was lodged against the hospital, and the woman was cautiously removed from her coffin and taken to a nearby hospital. Waking up in morgue. CCTV in a hospital morgue in Russia captured an incident so frightening that it sent shivers down the spine of the entire hospital. What appeared to be a gust of wind slowly turned into horror. when a man started moving his arm. He then took off the white sheet covering his once deceased body and tried getting up. The man struggled to move around and was visibly disorientated. He struggled for quite some time before eventually gathering enough strength to stand up. No one knows the whereabouts of this man or what happened to him, leaving the thing shrouded in mystery. What's even more frightening is that the tools for his autopsy were right beside his table. Man in Kenya. Mortuary attendants plunged into terror and were forced to retreat in Naivasha, Kenya. A man woke up after having been declared deceased by the hospital for more than 20 hours. He could be seen sitting on the hospital bed all by himself as he is surrounded by his loved ones and the terrified hospital staff. His family mourned him and left him at the mortuary, only for him to wake up several hours later and run away from there. The man got spooked in the morgue and immediately ran while calling for help. Giving life. Watch as this South African pastor brings this deceased man back to life in front of his family and the local crowd. He began by saying his prayer and then started uttering the deceased person's name.
Hello, Elliot. Elliot. Elliot.
He later engaged the crowd before meticulously hovering his hands over the lifeless body. He carefully rested his hand on the man's abdomen, and then the unspeakable happened. The man rose from the coffin with an almost half-alive look on his face. Everyone was left bewildered as the man began walking once again. But I, for one, seriously doubt its authenticity.
The coffin is empty!
Still alive, Shanghai. Funeral parlor workers in Shanghai, China, were left petrified after encountering this.
杨老爷在瞎搞啊，活人装上去，再装上去，他跟他们说死掉了。哎呦，真是的，世界上有这个事情，不负责任，真的不负责任。
Two morgue workers noticed something disturbing after pulling a body back out of a hearse. They noticed unusual movements and rather worryingly approached the bag. They cut open the bag, and after noticing the person inside was still alive, they moved away in disbelief while constantly pointing at it. The person was shocked because he was declared deceased, but much to everyone's amazement, the person got up and left like nothing ever happened. 3 days at hospital. In a story that challenges the very boundaries of what we know to be life, Tom shares his remarkable journey of recovery after a shocking incident in May of 2015. He was declared deceased, and he vividly recalls how close he came to being in a morgue drawer as his body seemingly shut down.
Think of how close I came to being in a drawer somewhere in the morgue.
When firefighters arrived, they discovered him in a state of cold rigidity, and the decision was made to transport him to the morgue. The mysterious nature of life shocked everyone when he began breathing and moving on his own just before his body was to be moved. Rushed to the hospital, Tom remained unconscious for 3 weeks, emerging from this ordeal with severe nerve conditions that had not existed before. While he faces ongoing challenges, his story serves as a call to reevaluate procedures and protocols within the Milwaukee Fire Department. Proving being alive. In a bewildering saga that defies logic, a Brooklyn woman finds herself ensnared in a harrowing predicament. Marzena Borgozelska, against all odds, marked an unconventional anniversary recently. 1 year to the day that she was pronounced deceased. Yet, she continues her relentless battle for recognition.
And after a whole entire year, they cannot still put me back to life.
She has been battling for an entire year to prove that she is still alive. Now, I don't really know how this could even have taken place. She has her documents, her identification certificate, yet she still had to keep fighting the most perplexing of court battles. Walter Williams. In a remarkable twist of fate, Walter Williams, the Mississippi man previously declared deceased, has become the living embodiment of the saying, "There's no such thing as second chances." After the initial declaration of his demise, Walter astounded his friends and family, giving them the shock of a lifetime.
I asked the coroner what happened. He said, "Oh, he can call us a miracle."
The story began with a dire misjudgment, as medical professionals mistakenly deemed him deceased. But he was very much alive and was found in the funeral home. He was taken to the hospital, where he recovered. His family and friends showed their astonishment during an interview with CBS New York. Miracle Baby. In a remarkable and highly unusual turn of events, a baby who was originally pronounced deceased at an Argentina hospital after a premature birth was found alive in the morgue. The incident unfolded when the premature baby, born at 23 weeks, was declared not breathing by the medical staff. The infant was placed in a morgue refrigerator, but several hours later, staff heard her cry. To their astonishment, they found the baby alive and breathing, despite the frigid temperature of the morgue. The baby was quickly moved to the neonatal intensive care unit for further evaluation and care. This miraculous incident left both medical professionals and the baby's family in awe, as it defied all expectations. But the parents were more than thrilled to have their child back. Electrocuted. In a heart-stopping twist of fate, Michael Pruitt, a 20-year-old construction worker, found himself facing a life-threatening situation. While toiling away with his stepfather at a construction site, a sudden jolt of electricity surged through his body, causing him to collapse. The culprits were live wires and a metal ladder, a combination that left Michael lifeless. He was rushed to the hospital where he had to be held down because the current was still going through his body. The doctors had to be careful, and no one knew whether or not he could be saved. Miraculously, local hospital doctors, confronted with a grim reality, decided to defy fate. With unwavering determination, they fought to resurrect him. Against all odds, their relentless effort paid off, snatching Michael back from the clutches of the afterlife. And he was saved. It's time for the open discussion now. The Catacombs of the Capuchin Monks is a super creepy tourist attraction in Palermo, Italy. It is filled with remains of monks that are placed upright and facing one another. When walking through the hallway, visitors have said they feel watched by the hollow eyes of the ancient monks. There are thousands of bones inside the crypt. However, the most famous mummy is probably the girl named Rosalia Lombardo, and those who have seen her have some creepy details to share. Many who ventured close to her have said that they saw her opening and closing her eyes. Yeah, even though it's been decades since she sadly passed away, many still believe her to be alive, or at the very least, possessed. If you have such experiences, do share with us in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.